the assassin, is trapped in a mental hospital by Jack. Pretending to swallow the doctor's pills, she secretly spits them out, triggers the fire alarm, and escapes disguised as a doctor. Determined to kill Jack in revenge, she runs into his car the next moment, falling flat on the ground. Crawling toward him, she's discovered by security, forcing her to flee barefoot, losing a shoe along the way. After finally shaking them off, Jack rolls down his car window, casually asking if she plans to kill him. Realizing her cover is blown, Rose tries to escape but is intercepted by Jack's bodyguards. In her panic, her knife falls to the ground, exposing her intentions. She hastily stabs herself with the knife, claiming it's just a toy. Jack, however, clutches his chest and collapses, seemingly in pain. Rose is detained and forced to assist in treating Jack, but she doesn't even know which side his heart is on. Helpless, she resorts to performing CPR on him, only for Jack to suddenly kiss her back. He had been faking his collapse all along. Jack declares that Rose just can't bring herself to kill him and proposes she pretend to be his deceased wife to deal with his family. Seeing a chance to get close enough to kill him, Rose quickly agrees. Jack notices her bare feet, scoops her up, and chastises her for not even being able to keep her shoes on. Rose retorts that it's his fault for chasing her in the first place. Upon arriving at Jack's home, Rose is shocked to find a wedding photo of herself and Jack hanging in the living room. Confused and overwhelmed, she faints. When she wakes, Jack explains that she bears a striking resemblance to his late wife, and might have mistaken herself for the woman in the photo. He hands her a pill identical to the ones from the mental hospital, raising her suspicions further. She knows she's not insane. What kind of scheme is this? Enraged, Rose resolves to strike first and kill Jack. However, Jack immediately notices the drug she tries to slip into his tea. Cornered, Rose denies it, only for Jack to point out the visible powder floating on the surface. He demands she take a sip, and when another man present tries to intervene, Jack warns him to stay out of it. The man, provoked, gets into an argument, giving Rose the chance to throw the tea at him. This leads to a scuffle, which Jack ends with a single punch. Rose grows suspicious of Jack's motives. Why defend her against someone acting on his behalf? Later that night, Rose sneaks into Jack's room and ties him up with a red ribbon. Just as she finishes tying his legs, the lights come on, and Jack pulls her into an embrace, asking what she's up to. Rose tightens the ribbon around his neck, declaring she's going to strangle him, but Jack easily breaks free and pins her to the bed. Their close proximity leaves Rose momentarily stunned. Jack teasingly asks if she wants to play a bondage game, enraging Rose, who storms out to fetch a knife. Before she can act, she finds a marriage certificate bearing her name and Jack's. Distraught, she faints again. Jack carries her back to her room. When she regains consciousness, Jack asks if she remembers him. Rose responds that, of course, she does. He's her assassination target. Jack offers a bitter smile. Determined to see her plan through, Rose bursts into Jack's bathroom, knife in hand, only to freeze at the sight of him naked. Flustered, she drops the knife and covers her eyes. A startled Jack quickly dresses but earns a slap and the title of pervert for not locking the door. Irritated, Jack pins Rose against the bathroom wall, but a phone call interrupts them, allowing Rose to escape. She encounters Jack's brother, Jason, who hands her a note reading, "Beware of Jack." This deepens her suspicion that Jack is up to no good. While handling her knife, Rose accidentally cuts herself, prompting Jack to tenderly treat her wound. He insists on taking over the cooking and prepares a feast for her. Though determined not to be swayed, Rose can't resist his cooking. Internally, she vows to kill him after eating. Jack, however, leans in close, causing Rose to freeze and close her eyes, only for him to gently remove a crumb from her lips. He then asks her to be his wife, though just for his family's sake. The next day, Jack takes Rose to pick out a dress for a family gathering. After many rejections, he finally approves one, but they run into a woman named Amy. Rose feels she recognizes Amy and follows her, but chaos erupts when a man starts attacking people with a knife in the mall. Drawing on her assassin instincts, Rose incapacitates the man with her high heel and shields an injured woman, which angers the attacker. Jack arrives just in time to save her. Rose is surprised to learn that Jack knows Amy, who turns out to be Jason's wife. Jack gently puts shoes on Rose, making her nervous. Suggesting they take Amy and the injured woman to the family gathering, Rose's reckless driving leaves the latter regretting her decision. At the gathering, Jack's grandfather tests Rose's identity, asking when they got married. Luckily, Rose remembers the date from the marriage certificate. However, The grandfather insists on a medical examination by Jack's late wife's personal doctor. Nervous that the ruse will be exposed, Rose is relieved when Jack intervenes. This angers his grandfather, who declares that Jack's wife died in a car accident and threatens to strip Jack of his inheritance. Surprisingly, the doctor confirms that Rose is indeed Jack's wife, clearly bribed by Jack. Furious, the grandfather storms off. Later, the woman Rose saved offers her a drink in gratitude and suggests she serve one to Jack. However, Rose gives the drink to Jason instead, who collapses moments later. Unbeknownst to her, the woman had spiked the drink, intending it for Jack. Rose, too, falls unconscious, the drug affecting her. Overheated, she nuzzles against Jack, who tries to cool her down with air conditioning. She points to his lips instead, claiming they're cooler, and kisses him. Jack remarks that she initiated it and shouldn't blame him later, before passionately kissing her back. Meanwhile, Jason is seduced by the scheming woman, who attempts to blackmail him with compromising photos, only to meet a grim fate at Jason's hands. When Rose woke up, she was deeply regretful of her wild behavior the previous night. As she tried to sneak away, Jack pulled her back into his arms. Rose quickly stopped him, reminding him that she was only pretending to be his wife and that they should forget everything that happened. Jack's face showed a hint of disappointment. Later, Jason approached Rose and told her he would take her to meet Jack's real wife. Behind a tightly closed door, a crazed woman suddenly rushed out. Jason revealed that this mad woman was Jack's wife, driven to insanity by Jack, who had then faked her death for the public. He warned Rose that if she didn't kill Jack, she would end up just like the mad woman. Shaken by this revelation, Rose attempted to strangle Jack while he was driving by wrapping a belt around his neck. However, she clumsily ended up fastening it across his face instead. Amused, Jack asked if this was another one of her bondage games. Embarrassed, Rose awkwardly explained that she was just trying to secure his seatbelt. Deep down, however, she knew she had wanted to kill him but had failed, because she seemed to have fallen for him. Sensing Rose's unease, Jack grew angry and demanded to know what was wrong. Torn between reason and emotion, Rose couldn't hold back her tears. Jack, mistaking her tears as a reaction to his anger, softened and apologized for being too harsh. Rose then confided in him about everything Jason had shown and told her. Jack, however, dismissed Jason's claims as lies, urging her to reflect on his actions instead of blindly trusting others. Taking time to think, Rose realized that Jack's behavior over the past few days didn't align with that of a villain. Gradually, her doubts subsided, and she found herself letting go of her suspicions. That night, Rose mistakes Jack for a burglar and prepares to attack him with her shoe, only to find him drinking alone. She boldly joins him but quickly becomes drunk, babbling incoherently. To distract her, Jack performs a magic trick, producing a candy in her favorite flavor. Delighted, Rose asks how he knew her favorite candy. Jack said that in this world, the person he loved most was Rose, and that's why he knew everything about her. After saying this, he coaxed her into finishing her candy and going to bed, treating her as though she were a child. But Rose didn't want him to see her as a girl. She wanted him to love her as a woman. So, she boldly kissed Jack on the lips. Jack was stunned, but before he could react, she drunkenly passed out in his arms. Gently, Jack stroked her hair with a look of tender affection. However, this peace didn't last long. In the early hours of the morning, the sound of crying came from the living room. It was Rose clutching her jaw in pain from eating too much candy. Looking at the candy wrappers scattered all over the floor, Jack realized that Rose had eaten all the candy he had hidden. He immediately took her to the dentist, where the doctor remarked that his wife still loved candy as much as she did years ago. Jack smiled and said she was like a child. While Jack stepped out, Amy seized the opportunity to speak to Rose, planting doubts in her mind. When Jack returned, Rose confronted him, asking if his love for her was merely because she resembled his wife. If she was nothing but a stand-in, she declared she would leave him. Jack hurriedly denied it, but when Rose told him to let her go, he instead pulled her into a tight embrace. Furious, Rose slapped him. Seeing the hurt in Jack's eyes, she felt a pang of regret and offered for him to slap her back if it would make him feel better. But Jack said he could never bring himself to hit her, nor would he ever let her leave. Realizing she was on the verge of being imprisoned again, Rose lashed out, saying that no one could ever truly love a man like him and that his wife must have hated him. Jack was taken aback, his mind drifting to memories of the old Rose, the Rose who would never have said she hated him. But that Rose was gone, and with her, the love she had once felt for him. Enraged, Jack confronted Amy, demanding to know why she had approached Rose. He accused her of being the one who had caused Rose's car accident, stripping her of her memories just before their wedding. What scheme was she plotting now? Amy tearfully denied any ill intent, claiming she only wanted to help Rose recover her memories. Jack, however, refused to trust her and ordered her to leave the country. But Jack's grandfather, furious with him, had already revoked all his company's subsidiaries. Jack rushed off to handle the crisis, pointing out that these failing companies were hardly worth keeping. Meanwhile, Rose, unaware of Jack's second identity as her former mentor, Number 1, placed an order for poison to aid her escape. But the plan backfired. She poisoned herself instead of Jack and ended up in the hospital. When Jack came to see her, a panicked Rose called Number 1 for help, only to discover that the person answering the phone was Jack himself. The shock caused her to faint again. Jason, furious over Jack's plans to exile Amy, vowed to make Jack pay. When Rose regained consciousness, she found Jack by her side, watching over her. Nervously, she took a sip of water and planned to escape while he was out. However, she was ambushed and knocked unconscious from behind. Jack, enraged, launched a full-scale search for her. A doctor pushing a corpse passed by him, but when Jack realized it wasn't a corpse but Rose, it was already too late. Jason had kidnapped her. The kidnappers planned to use Rose to extort a ransom from Jack, but Rose insisted they had made a mistake. She wasn't Jack's wife. In fact, she was one of them, a fellow criminal. She even proposed working together to scam Jack. Foolishly believing her, the kidnappers let their guard down, allowing Rose to easily escape and run into Jack, who had arrived just in time. That night, as Jack massaged her legs, Rose confessed the truth. She was an assassin, and her mission had been to kill him. Now that she had failed, she told him to do as he pleased with her. But instead of punishing her, Jack teased that he liked her. After all, he had never met such a terrible assassin. Furious, Rose hurled a pillow at him. Determined to improve her skills, she turned on a tutorial video but was so terrified by the gruesome scenes that she nearly fainted. Jack suggested watching with her and pulled her close when she got scared. He reassured her that it was all fake, then gently kissed her. Rose, surprisingly, didn't resist and even deepened the kiss when Jack asked if she wanted him to stop. Later, Rose invited Amy over, asking Jack to pour her a drink, which made Jack visibly unhappy. He immediately called Jason to take Amy away. Rose misunderstood, thinking Jack's affections were for Amy. Jack knocked her on the head and said he only had feelings for Rose. Rose's invitation to Amy, however, had another purpose. She wanted to know more about Jack's wife and the cause of her death. Amy revealed that she had died in a car accident. Hearing this, Rose suddenly had flashbacks of the crash and collapsed. Jack angrily confronted Amy, demanding to know what she had said to Rose. Amy confessed that the accident wasn't her fault. The car had started rolling on its own, and Rose had jumped in to save her, leading to the tragedy. Jack realized someone else must have been behind it all. Rose overheard part of the conversation and confronted Jack, demanding to know how long he planned to keep secrets from her. Jack assumed she had learned the truth and prepared to explain everything, but Rose's real concern was about his relationship with Amy. Jack face-bombed as Amy quickly clarified that there was nothing between them. Angrily, Rose stormed back to her room, only to be stopped by Jack, who called out and calmly reminded her that she had entered the wrong room. Furious, Rose returned to her own room but immediately ran back out and threw herself into Jack's arms, trembling as she confessed that there was a ghost in her room. Jack chuckled and accompanied her back inside to investigate. Putting on a show, he pretended to check the window and subtly signaled for his men, who had been outside, to quietly leave. Knowing that Rose was terrified of ghosts, Jack watched as her fear overrode her anger.